Hello and welcome to the 30th of September. So here we are again, another art dump video. So this is how I'm ending the month. And to begin this video, I'm going to read some of my fan mail. It's a thing that I'm doing now. If people say nice things about my work, I'll read it at the start of my videos. This is from Add the Dough, and this is actually this is my friend Addie, and she's on Instagram and Twitter. You go to Addie Marie Art, you can find her work there. It's amazing. Excuse me. Here's what she writes. You're really great at bringing characters to life through your comics. So much personality. It's a great talent to have, to be able to put together great character design and great backstories, and you're really good at both. And that is just so sweet. I love my fans. I really love that people are saying these things. It's just so flattering. So thank you, Addie. Thank you so much for that. And let us begin going through. I've had to crop some of these because it's come to my attention that these slideshows, they do, if you mix up like portrait and landscape, it gets a bit weird. So I've tried to keep them as square as possible. And it's a drawing here of Becca and Rudy from Femme Fatale. So for those of you who aren't aware, Femme Fatale is like a thing that me and my friend Julie created. We both sort of contributed these little ideas back and forth. Becca was a character that I came up with right when we were just starting the project, because we decided to sort of split it into two. So like, I came up with 3 characters and she came up with 3 characters, and since then we've added various different characters. Rudy is meant to be her brother, and she has a lot of siblings because she's a rabbit, and that seems to make sense. And when I drew this, because I've drawn a lot of pictures of Becca, and I've changed her nose, and you can actually see, if you look in the background in the bottom left hand corner, you can see what Becca originally looked like. So she hasn't changed an awful lot. I do get a bit fickle with her hair because I'm really bad at drawing hair and I never keep it consistent. But yeah, so you can kind of get a comparison there of what she used to look like. I mean, in a way, I kind of... There are certain things about that original drawing that I prefer. It's good. I'm not that bothered by the differences. So she's the drummer in the band Femme Fatale, and there's like a band poster in the background. You can see that. That's just like a last minute thing. I thought I can't be bothered to draw anything in the background. I never can, and so I just did that. And this is Blair. So the lead singer of Femme Fatale is a character called Claire Kitty, and at one point I had this idea that she could have an evil doppelganger who would be like the anti-Claire. So I thought, what if we had Blair Kitty as sort of the dark, nastier version. And at first that was all I had. I talked about it with Julie, and we kind of had this idea that maybe Blair was an old friend of Claire's, and that maybe they had another friend called Adair, and then things started to get really confused, because I like the idea of people not quite remembering who was who. And we might still go with that idea, but for a while I was thinking, okay, so maybe we don't call her Blair Kitty, she's called Blair, and there's Adair as well, and so it's just that their first names that get people confused. But more recently we've kind of gone back to the original idea, because we're coming up with lots of ideas for stories, and Julie thought it would be good if we get a glimpse of Blair and her band at the start of this ongoing story that we're putting together. So the idea is that she's in a band, and they're all just a bunch of mean characters, and it's been a lot of fun. And I think because it's funny, because I've had to kind of pick between these 2 ideas that I thought were both pretty good. And so on one hand, it can be hard to make decisions there, but I just think, if we can just settle on one of them, then it's fine. Because I just think they're both equally good. Now this is some more fan art that I did for Raujin. If you've seen any of my previous videos or just seen my work, you might be aware of Raujin is an artist that I love very much. I really love his work, and yeah, I'm drawing a blank now because so far I've drawn his characters Aura, Headphone, and Fish. Did I do any others? Anyway, so what was this one? I might have to cheat. I might have to just go and have a look. I feel really embarrassed now. This is one character that I'm not remembering as I should. Calida, that was it. Yeah. And I think because I only found one picture of her in one of Raujin's galleries, so it was more just the fact that he's got so many brilliant characters, and this character stood out, and I like the design a lot because I feel like it's great when you have someone who can draw a single picture of a character, and immediately you're interested and you want to know more. So Calida, yeah, I had a lot of fun because I really like her outfit. Because I did add a few changes to kind of make it a bit closer to my kind of style. I'm finding that with shading, I really just have to I just sort of do a very slapdash thing, because I feel like it looks more like actual lighting and reflective light when you don't think about it too much, because it has to be kind of, if you want it to look like the light is sort of bouncing a bit, then you don't put too much thought in it, you just go for it. Okay, now this was a request, because I did sort of open up requests on my Instagram, but I thought I'd kind of keep it narrow and just open it up to my closest friends, because that's something that you can do. I put up in my stories just as an exclusive story for my closest friends on Instagram. So this is a request that I got from Chub the OC on Instagram, and we've been commenting on each other's work. Well, I think he's left more comments on for me. Excuse me, I've not really been doing my bit, so I hope this drawing makes up for that, because I do like their OC, and it's a really cute character, and Chub did a drawing of Ema. So if you go to Chub the OC on Instagram, you'll be able to see that. So yeah, and I also really like how Chub does comic book artwork. That's something that I wish I could do better, and yeah, so I've been getting a lot of inspiration from that. And so then we have this is the first digital drawing of Chad. I believe this is the first one. First time I did it in colour, I think. Because this was a character that was sort of in my head for a while, and I didn't manage to kind of realise the whole thing. But what was really fun is that I'm doing the voice of Chad. So you've got Claire who's hugging him there. Julie does Claire's voice. And we've been having fun on Facebook. We like to record little messages and kind of interact with each other in character, and that's been a good way of working on these, because hopefully we're going to make some stuff for YouTube, hopefully animated shorts, maybe, hopefully, we'll wait and see, but because right now we're working on a kind of semi-animated thing, so we don't know how much time and effort is going to go into it just yet, but it's sort of a starting point for the whole femme fatale thing. Anyway, so yeah, Chad is part of the Front Street Fellas, as is Rudy. You saw Rudy earlier. So you'll get to learn more about them later. So my voice for Chad is kind of, I've had to do a sort of gruff voice, and I'm not good at accents, so I just sort of let it just flow as it. And yeah. That's been interesting, because I was having trouble coming up with the type of voice, and then Julie said, make it gruff, so I had to go at that, and that seemed to work the best. And so yeah, I'm glad that I've been getting help with that, because I'm not very good. And this is interesting because so Femme Fatale have a Twitter page if you'd like to give us a follow. Both me and Julie are moderating it. And we had this idea because we were getting close to 100 followers, and we thought we would do an art raffle, and we encourage people to send us little pictures of their furry OCs, and the prize was to have that they could pick whichever character from Femme Fatale they wanted, and have a selfie taken with them. So the winner here was Black Rat Boy. I believe that's the Twitter name, and they wanted a picture with Claire Kitty. So here's a selfie with Claire. That was the winning piece of artwork that I did. So in the background you can see a bit more of the Femme Fatale poster, because that was a little collaboration that I did with Julie, because my characters are Peggy, Becca and Rita. So I drew them for the poster, and Julie did her characters, Claire, Lena and Kimmy. So you'll at some point we'll probably get around to those, because she drew them for that poster design. I'm trying not to spend too long on this because the past few videos I've done have been extremely long, so I have a lot of art to get through, so I'll try not to spend too much time. But now we have a new character for the kind of fictional universe that Ema, my OC, my alien OC, if you're not sure who Ema is, you can see her in the background up there in the corner, the green lady. So this is one of her friends, one of her colleagues. So they all work as kind of police officers in this futuristic world. And so this is Heart, kind of a feline type creature. And I got the idea for her because I've been watching shows like Final Space, and also the latest season of Archer, which is set in space. And I'd noticed that there is something quite fun about the idea of cat people, because it's something that appears in a lot of science fiction. It's like if you look at various different, there are quite a lot of examples where you have these aliens that resemble cats, and it's sort of a fun idea. And I thought, because I'm really not that entirely sure what kind of history and identity I can give to these alien characters that I'm coming up with, but I just thought, I kind of base one of them on like a cat, make her like a cat-like creature. And if I go to the next one, this is what she looked like before she became a police officer. So she was actually living in a completely different galaxy, like somewhere way, and she just sort of by chance ended up. It's sort of inspired by Thor, where she just she stumbled upon the galaxy where Ema lives, and she learned about the culture, and it sort of adapted to that world. So I thought it'd be an interesting backstory for that character. And so I just because as I say, I'm still not that sure about how everything works in Ema's world, because what I'm doing mostly with Ema right now is the Ask blog, where people are asking her questions. So with that I'm taking a lot of liberties, and I'm just making it very comical, and just trying to make it relatable in some way. So but this is Warrior Heart, bit of a weird looking spear, but you've got to sort of think of original stuff like that kind of looks alien. It's from an alien world. And now here is a drawing I did of Julie Kitsuli's avatar. See, I mention Julie quite a lot in these videos, because we do interact a lot, and we do a lot of stuff for each other. And we did an art trade. I don't have the one that she did, but anyway, she asked me to draw her avatar, because I did. This is in I think a couple of previous videos. You could see the drawings I did of her first avatar, because she had a different outfit. She had ears and a tail like a fox, and she likes to include her cat Dot. I did put Dot in the other ones, because at the start of the year Dot had to be put down. So since then, kind of this angel Dot character tends to show up in a lot of her drawings, and whenever people draw her avatar, they tend to include Dot. So this is the new look, because she now has a blonde-haired avatar. Still has those pink goggles; they've always been her trademark. And I tried to make a bit of an effort, both with the wings, because I never usually draw wings like that. My wings never really tend to look bird-like. They're just sort of like those wings you see in Super Mario. Like whenever something has wings in the old games, they just have those very, very basic-looking flappy white wings. That used to be pretty much. I just thought that's what they look like, so that's how I'll always draw them. But I set myself the challenge of making them look more bird-like and more grand, more impressive. And I did spend a lot of time on the clothing as well. I thought I want it to look like real clothing. So I really tried with that one. And this is another request from Instagram. Now, who was this one? Not sure if I can remember now. Someone asked for the Pink Panther. And I remember while I was working on this one, because I had made a promise in my original post that I would make a proper full, colour and shaded drawing of each one. So when I was almost done with the line work, I almost thought, this would look just fine without shading. And then suddenly I remembered, I did promise that I would put shading on it. Although, because in this case, what I ended up doing was, because I thought, as I'm not very good at putting darker bits, making it look natural, I just thought I'd soften it up with some light, because that is a bit like, I feel like that's still keeping my promise. I'm giving it a bit of depth, and this is quite an original style, because I looked up an old picture of the Pink Panther, and I kind of based this on that drawing. Like, I just kept the head very simple. That is just like the simplest way you could draw the Pink Panther's face. But I thought I'd make him a bit springy and kind of use the rubber hose, stretchy arms and legs, and the tail almost clashes with it. Like it sort of blends with all the shapes that are there. So it's a bit weird looking, but I think it's alright. Now this is Ruth. Ruth is also from Femme Fatale. And we have a voice actor for Ruth now. So the project is coming along. The idea with Ruth, because I just originally came up with her as like a sort of character who just sort of rarely make an appearance, and the idea is that she worked for a TV company and there was something just like a running joke or something that she would show up, and I wasn't entirely sure what else to do with this character, and then Julie was coming up with ideas for Estelle, the manager for Femme Fatale, and one of the things she said, what if Estelle had a wife? And we were thinking about what her wife would be like, and then I just sort of thought, well, perhaps Ruth could be her wife, perhaps they could be married. And so it's great how all of a sudden it just seems like that is how they always were, because we spent a lot of time trying to think of ideas for characters. I spend a lot of time just being like, well, I don't know. with me, it's just like I'll draw a picture of them and like, well, that's what they look like, and I don't come up with any other ideas for them. So I'm glad that we've managed to flesh out these characters a bit more. Okay, so I think in one of my previous videos I talked about Staria, She's the one on the right, because she's a shapeshifter, so she doesn't always look like this, but that's what she decided to look like in this one. Because I was planning on putting together a little collection of artwork of Staria, because the idea is she's meant to be very unpredictable. She does all kinds of mischief, and I've sort of slowly been putting together the drawings for this collection. You'll get to see a few of them here. So the idea with this one is Dweezil, the yellow guy on the left. He's Ema's pet. In fact, you can if you look at the picture of Ema in the background, she's surrounded by all these bouncy little rubbery creatures, and I did have this idea that maybe she would adopt one of them. And there is a story about why Dweezil is that colour. And I just thought it'd be cute if Staria transformed herself into one of those things, and then started flirting with Dweezil, and he looks a little bit creeped out by her. And here's another one. So I like the idea of Staria randomly changing clothing and also duplicating herself so that there's more of her. Another one of the things that she does that's just unexplained. Nobody else can do it. It's just a unique thing that she is able to do. Don't ask any questions. And this is the third one. And not a very original idea. The zip over the mouth, zip it. I think because this just came out with the fact that that blue character, that's Olba, another one of these alien cop characters, she is kind of a boring person. That's not the most polite way of putting it, but she's kind of bossy and obsessive, and a bit of a neat freak and that sort of thing. So I just figured that Staria wouldn't be particularly fond of her, and she'd find her quite boring. So that's what this is all about. And the way I've drawn that kind of muffled sound, it has that spiky speech bubble around it. I've been working on ways of doing that, because I used to do it in a very uniform kind of way, trying to keep it all even, and I think it looks better if it's more sort of scruffy and not so neat and so that's the end. That is the end. That's the end of the part one. I'm moving on to the sketches now. So these are just little doodles that I've done. So another alien cop. This is one of the most recent ideas I've had, because I'm coming up with lots of ideas for all these alien cops, because I want it to be very mixed. I want them to all be different types of alien, and so this is Bale, and I think I called her Bale because most of the characters I've come up with have an A at the end of their name, and even though there's nothing wrong with that, I just kind of get that itch to not do that anymore and just do something a bit different. So I'm thinking Bale, because it's kind of the rule that it's a word that we do have in our culture, but it also kind of sounds like an alien name. You can imagine an alien having that as a name, even if people are calling their children Bale. I don't know if they are, but even if there are people of this world who have that name, it still works, because I'm thinking they probably don't have the same history that we do. They don't live in the same world. This is Bianca. So again, we've been working on ideas for Femme Fatale's rival band, and they're called the Carnage Creatures. That was Julie's idea. She came up with some really good ideas for this band, as well as Femme Fatale. So I just sort of quickly, this is the only drawing I've done of Bianca. But because in Femme Fatale, there's a hedgehog called Kimmy. So this is meant to be the anti-Kimmy. Bianca is the evil version of Kimmy, and I think because Kimmy has very impressive kind of hedgehog spikes that sort of look like a hairdo that goes right down her back, and she looks very impressive. So I decided to go the other way with Bianca's design because I couldn't quite picture her fully. I was thinking, what am I going to do for her hairdo? I've ended up making her look a bit like Knuckles from Sonic the Hedgehog, but that wasn't really the intention. I was looking at pictures of like goth haircuts and things, so I drew her spikes pointing downward so that they've been straightened, and I also decided to give her like a long sleeve shirt underneath her t-shirt, and it has stripes on it, and it does make her look, because Julie pointed out she kind of looks emo now, and yeah, I think that works just as well, because I was going for goth, but you know, emo is a similar kind of thing, not exactly the same, just to outsiders it looks similar. And here's the original sketch of Khalida. See, I remember the name now. I'm getting better at remembering OCs. Because Raujin has so many great characters. There are others that I'd still like to have a go at drawing. So this is basically what the original sketch looked like. I just copied and pasted the layer from the PSD file that I was working with. And yeah, you can kind of see certain differences. But I think it's more or less the same. But yeah, that's what the sketch looks like. Now here's a sketch that I never, because a number of these are ones that I kind of drew and then pushed aside so I could work on something else. But this all started because Claire Kitty has a brother who has his own band, and they are the Front Street Fellas. And as I mentioned, we've got Chad, Rudy, Marshall, that's Claire's brother. Yeah, and the other one is Skylar. And me and Julie have been drawing pictures of them, and the idea is that they're kind of loosely based on boy bands like Backstreet Boys. And Julie was showing me that this Backstreet Boys video where they're kind of dressed like robots, and we've been having a go at parodying that, because Julie drew a picture of Marshall and Skylar in those outfits. And then it just occurred to me, because I'd just drawn my first picture of Chad, and then I thought he'd look really funny in one of those costumes. I like the fact that it doesn't quite fit. He's a bit too wide to get into the costume. And Claire finds it absolutely hilarious. That just seemed like something. I don't like how I've drawn her face. I've never been good at drawing laughing faces and kind of making them. I just tend to ruin the entire character. She doesn't look like Claire at the moment. Might work on that. Here's the original sketch of the selfie. So you saw it earlier. And this did change quite a lot. I think, Claire looks really cute in this sketch. I think I made her pupils bigger because I tend to draw big eyes with tiny little pupils. Like the eyeballs are usually really big, but not the pupils whenever I draw them. I think Ratboy's foot looks a bit better in this one, because ultimately I ended up with one that didn't look as good. I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but I don't think... I think I probably should have made more of an effort to keep it looking the same way. So that's Skylar doing Chad's hair, and this is I'm kind of getting more of an idea of what these guys are like as a group together, the kind of things they get up to. Because I think Chad is the kind of Oliver Hardy type. You know, he's the straight man, and the type of guy who's minding his own business and then someone else does something which causes him to fall over or do something or whatever, and there are a lot of embarrassing moments for Chad. Like this with Skylar just being helpful and giving him a hairstyle that he thinks would look good when they go on stage, and Chad doesn't seem to agree with this. Okay, so this is another character for Carnage Creatures. So I've got all these bands now that we've got to think about. But yeah, and basically every time I draw a rabbit, there's a good chance that it's one of Becca's siblings. As I said before, she has a lot of siblings. And this one is Jessica, as in Jessica Rabbit. You get it? Yeah, but and so the idea is that Jessica joins Carnage Creatures, so she is a bit of a rebel. She's not exactly on the same side as Becca. She's a little bit mean, a little bit nasty, and I thought I'd make her kind of tall and skinny, because we are sort of trying to make them different from the ones from Femme Fatale. They're all the same animal, but it's like they're sort of from a parallel dimension. That's not the idea. It's just it's sort of like that. I shouldn't have said that. That gives you. I'm so bad at explaining things. So Julie, this is the sketch I did of Julie. This one's really messy. Look at all that. You can see that I've started a few new layers and merged a few together, and it's all gone a bit. You can kind of make it out, but I think it was worth sticking with that. Again, though, I think I may have spoiled a few things. I think because her head shape looks just right here, and I think I kind of made it look a bit too stretched when I did the final one. You've got to keep an eye on what you're doing when you're going over the rough sketch. You shouldn't just be tracing it. You should be checking to see that it looks right and making changes. The aliens are coming to get us. Yeah, I love this character. Julie just came up with this. This was a voice that Julie came up with. One of the voice messages she sent to me was her doing this old lady mole character. And she did point out, as moles can't actually see at all, I think you can ignore the fact that she seems to have her eyes open. I think in future I'll make them look like dark glasses. But yeah, so she did some voices, and they were just really funny. She does a great old lady voice, and she had this idea that old lady mole, she believes in all these different conspiracy theories, so she wears a tinfoil hat, and also she keeps changing her name. We never actually know what her real name is because she's so suspicious of everything. She keeps changing it. It's really funny. I love that the idea for that just came from a voice message. And this is Claire dressed as Sushi. I mean, this was an idea that I kind of pitched to Julie because we thought it'd be fun to give all of our characters Halloween costumes this year. Hopefully that is something that we will commit to, and I just did it because I thought it was a cute idea. First of all, I think it makes sense for a cat to like sushi because apparently cats like fish, and so I did this sushi outfit where she's sort of wearing 2 layers of sushi rolls, and she has like a prawn hat or a shrimp hat, and I kind of like how I've drawn her face there. It looks quite cute. I'm almost scared of going over it again because I always mess it up. So yeah, we have another alien cop, another one of Ema's friends. This is Tanga. So another one with an A. I'm really obsessed with that. I shouldn't really worry about that too much. But yeah, and I was just trying to draw a raccoon at first, and then when I did the body, I drew the body shape, and I just thought I want to draw the uniform. I want this to be, because I like to see how the uniform would work on, because I some of the details like the body armor, that tends to be a different shape depending on what body type these characters have. I think Mr. Motorbike is on his way back. I can hear him approaching. And I think this is the last one. So yeah, we were, me and Julie were passing around ideas on Facebook for Femme Fatale, because these two characters, the one on the left is Velvet, and Julie designed Velvet. She came up with the look. She drew a really lovely drawing of her. She is the grandmother to one of the members of Femme Fatale. And Julie had also previously had this idea for a character called Autumn. She's the one on the right. And while we were all talking on Facebook, she said, I feel like those two would make great friends. You know, they'd probably get along really well. So I kind of pictured it, and I had a bit of an idea of what I thought Autumn would look like, because I hadn't been given a sketch or anything, but I thought I'd have a go at just drawing how I think she would look. And so here they are in the butterfly garden drinking tea. I thought that seemed to be the kind of setting that... Oh yeah, we have one more. So this is a bit of concept art I did for the YouTube stuff that we're going to try and work on. So now we have Ruth and Estelle. So Estelle's the one on the right. And because there is a scene where we see them both at home, and I really like the scene. Julie wrote this scene, and it's great because it shows how these two care about each other, and Ruth is just really determined, and she's good at giving pep talk, and I just had this image of her saying, "You can do it, Stelly, and I believe in you." So yeah, that's what I ended up drawing, and I'm really pleased with how this came out, because I don't usually draw characters. Like when I'm drawing characters in profile, I do tend to struggle. But I think that's probably the best you're going to get from me when I do characters in profile. And I believe, yep, that's the end. So thank you everybody for watching this. Now I'll just bring this up again. If I get any more of these lovely comments from fans and people saying flattering things, I'm more than happy to feature them in these videos. So yeah, keep those coming, because they really make me feel great. They encourage me and they help me to carry on working and making these things. So yeah, thanks so much for sticking around, and I am off to the pub.